Welcome, Domo fans from across the globe. We are excited to offer another one of our advanced customer enablement hands-on sessions through Domo, the AI and data products platform. Dan Hendrickson, the Director of Product Enablement at Domo. I'm Eddie Small, Director of Community at Domo. And every once in a while, we like to pretend that we know what we're doing. And unfortunately, today is not one of those days where I get to do that. Dan gets to do it, talking about all of the cool things going on in his organization. We're really excited because this session is going to focus a little on mobile. Is that right, Dan?
That's right. Yes, sir.
I'm so excited to talk about mobile. Obviously, it's a big part, I think, of what Domo has tried to build and some of the stuff they're doing in product to accomplish that that piece that I think everyone wants, which is this kind of one size fits all approach, right? And today's workshop is going to be hands-on, not as lengthy. Dan has already prepped me on previous sessions, which means we may have a lot of time for questions and a lot of engagement with our audience. We love to see you guys in the chat. Please comment. We've got our friend Todd as well in the background from Domo, who may be answering some of your questions in the chat, which is really exciting to see as well. It's kind of an all hands on deck situation today on the ACE hands-on. If you don't know what ACE is, it is their advanced customer placement, or advanced customer enablement team. Dan gets to play the role of Master Ace or Maverick Tom Cruise. I get to play the role of Goose as I get out of here and kind of see all the cool things that he gets to do. But lots of people joining us today, Dan, as usual, from Atlanta, from Minnesota, from Texas, Ryan from Kansas City. I wonder who he may be rooting for in the Super Bowl, right? Kent, Ohio, Salt Lake City, Cross Lake. We're just excited you guys are all here, ready to join us and ready to learn.
Yeah, do you see someone from Kyoto, Japan? We got
Where
Belize,
did that happen? I saw Belize. There we go. Listen,
I wish I was in Belize.
It's a global live stream today, which we love to see. Andrew's right. It doesn't end well for Goose, which is typically what happens on these live streams. I get way out of the way. I drop this thing real quick and let Dan take over very shortly. Dan, how you doing? It looks nice and sunny there. Raining here in Indiana, sunny there in Salt Lake City, it looks like today.
It is a beautiful day. It's bright, so if I look a little bit like a silhouette, I apologize. I do have my light on, but it's hard to navigate or fight with that. So
no, that's a gorgeous view.
Drop the shades down if we need to, though.
No, you look great. All right, Dan, I'll get out of the way, let you get started. As always, if you have any questions, any comments for Dan, please throw those in the chat. We'd love to answer them as we get this session started. Dan, take it away, my friend.
Hey, Eddie, thanks so much, man. I will start sharing out my screen here, and we're going to take a moment.
Oh, wait, Dan.
Yo.
I'm sorry. I'm interrupting because we didn't do something we should have done right off the bat.
Oh,
hey, our next session. A little teaser coming up. We love to introduce these sessions to you. We try to get them in enough advancement that you have some play in your schedule there. So check out our next session. If you scan the QR code, I'll put the direct link in the chat before Dan gets started. February 19th. We seem to like these times, 2 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll throw those in the community as well, so you can have direct links. If you're not a part of our Domo's community, please go to community-forums.domo.com. It's my shameless plug for today. And Dan, tell us a little bit about the next session. Give a little teaser for the audience that might be interested in attending.
Man, I am pumped. Like you mentioned, we are the AI and data products platform. I don't think there's anything that drives that point home more than we will in this next session with me, where we're going to leverage AI and unstructured data, right? So we're seeing tons of use cases where our great customers like you guys have got, there's a lot of rich information and images and other unstructured data sources. And so I'm going to spend some time with you and show you how to leverage Domo's AI tools and some of that unstructured data to do really cool things. Like one of the demos we show might involve something like, automatic processing of invoices that are submitted from vendors, or using surveillance footage in a retail store to understand if you've got too long of a queue at the cash register and need to dispatch more cashiers, things like that, right? So a little different data approach, and that it's unstructured data, but I'm really excited about it. I think you'll get a lot of value out of it.
Awesome. We'll throw that direct link into the chat so you guys can access the link directly. If you didn't get a chance to scan that QR code, obviously throwing it in the community as well. Invite your friends, shameless plug, as someone who's the director of community, invite your friends to community-forums.domo.com. We'd love to have you, as I get some text from my boss asking what's membership look like this month. So I'll get out of the way. Dan, it's your turn to take over. Everybody enjoy Dan's session here. I love having their team on.
No worries. Thanks, Eddie. And I'll try to we'll get through the deck here pretty quick and get into the product. But really what the session's on today, let me back up, is just ensuring everyone in your organization's got immediate access to the information that they need. Right. So quick agenda of what we'll cover today. Talk through the business challenge in a little bit more detail. We'll do a quick demo, and I want to introduce you to some functionality that I am super excited about. I've been getting a lot of value out of. We'll go through and actually build a solution together, and then talk about some takeaways and what is next. So the challenge we're going to address today, right over there on the right-hand side, you can see a little GIF of me going through my Domo app, which I love. It occupies the lower right corner of my screen. It's probably the app I use the most. But what I'm highlighting is that due to our heavy emphasis on mobile functionality, there's a lot of stuff going on in there, right? We emphasize mobile heavily. It's a big deal to our founder, and there's a lot of things that are present in the mobile app, right? And so that can end up surfacing as, a challenge to find exactly what you need, or a lot more clicks or thumb taps, if you will, to get to exactly the content that you're after. And so we're gonna talk about some different ways that we can help you solve that. So I want to start, first of all, let's take a look at this finance exec solution, right? If you watch that little GIF, this is me opening that same Domo app, right? But this is what a finance exec might see, right? You'll notice that exec's got access to really two things. He or she has got access to an App Studio app that's got all the financial performance metrics that they care about. And we gave them access to AI chat with some very specific contexts, right? So if you've had a chance to play with the AI chat, you've probably made the realization that context is everything. So we allow you to prescribe that right here. So this is that view. Now we still leave, as you can see in that little hamburger menu there, access for that exec to get to all the other parts of the platform. We just make it very easy for he or she to get to the content that we know that they're after when they pull out their phone. All right, let's show you a different example here. Again, I'm launching that same Domo app. I recorded these screen grabs on my phone this morning. This provides access to specific dashboards. This is something like you might have in this example. It's for a sales team. You can see at the bottom, we've got forecast, pacing, pipeline, and quota dashboards. Those are really the only things that those folks have got access to. You'll notice you got a keen eye that is themed a little differently, right? The header is green. We've applied some thematic elements there, but it's really an example of creating a solution for a specific department or organization inside your company that's really got, a fairly focused need categorically, but could be broad across lots of different content. And then a third example that I'll show you is one that might be more fitting for a retail store, like floor associate, right? Maybe you operate a chain of retail stores and you want the associates that are walking around helping your customers to have quick and immediate access to inventory information, right? You can see we launched the app, and all this individual can see is inventory data and Task Center, where they can see the different tasks that are assigned to them to complete that day, right? Whether that's restocking different goods. And you'll notice in the hamburger menu there, they've really got almost no access to anything, right? This is a low-level data need. And so, they've got access to very limited information. And what we're going to show you how to do today is, those three different experiences are all provided through one app. And it is the Domo mobile app. And that's accomplished through different configurations. And that's what we're going to go hands-on with. And I'm going to walk you through kind of item by item and make sure that you know exactly how to create these different mobile experiences for all the different organizations or all the different individuals that you service throughout your organization. And one thing too, we got to keep the powder dry on some upcoming announcements, but this is really the tip of the iceberg on some of the customizations that you're going to see on the mobile platform. So as you've got questions, like Eddie said, please ask them, but I'm going to kill the slideshow here, and we're going to jump into the product. Eddie, sorry, I'm going to make you do the screen share manipulation thing again. Let me get the right screen here. All right. And we will, Eddie, if you could, there we go. Perfect. We're going to take a look at exactly how we accomplish that. So if you've been around Domo a while, you are likely familiar with MotoCorp. That's where I built these different solutions. But the feature, the functionality that I'm going to point you to today is under the More menu, and it's in the admin section, and it's under content. So you can feel free to just watch as I walk through this, or feel free to follow along. But here under mobile, you can see this is loading our mobile configurations area, and you can see we've got, I mentioned this, just the tip of the iceberg. You see a couple of different apps you'll notice listed there, and a couple of different themes, right? So when we talk about just the tip of the iceberg, we've got a lot of things coming on this front. But what we're going to focus on today is the Domo application, right? So that Domo app that you all hopefully know and love. And if we come in here, we can see that we've got a variety of different configurations, right? And these are the three that I just showed you: finance exec, retail store associate, and sales organization. So there's a couple of things that I want you to understand here. I'm going to go ahead and hit the add button to create a new configuration. And we'll call this live stream demo. And we'll give it a description, building out with the community on the live stream. And we're going to start, just like you will, because you don't have any existing configurations, with the Domo default configuration. That's going to be kind of our starting point for this configuration that you're going to build. Now, I'd encourage you, like I said, hop in, follow along, knock one of these things out. So on this first settings pane, right, this is where we can do things like create new versions. We can mark it as shipping. We can deprecate or clone those versions. But more importantly, we can give it an icon, right? So you can upload an image or choose an icon that will be associated with this mobile configuration. And the way I want you to think about it is a configuration is for a certain audience, right? So you're likely going to end up with some that, it could be that, you've got a CEO that's very particular and just wants access to 3 key pieces of content, right? He or she may have their very own configuration. You'll have a lot of them that are for different groups. I'll walk you through how you can permission those and share them with different audiences. But the way I want you to think about it is all those different audiences throughout your organization and how you need or want to empower them. So settings is where we can set our icon, and then the theme. So by default, it's going to use Domo's blue and gray theme. We're pretty proud of that. I think the design team did a good job of it. It looks great. But if you want to, we do have a handful of themes that are available for you to choose from. There are more coming on the theme front in the future, so keep your eyes peeled here. As you know, we've got again a few options available for you other than the default Domo theme. We got more to come. For this configuration, I'm going to leave it at our default theme. And I want to introduce you to the properties tab. So you can see here is where it starts to get really interesting. I've got a live preview, and it's actually a a functioning thing. I can click through different elements here, and some of them preview better than others, but I can interact with the app here, so you can really see what it's going to look like, and we can start to apply the settings or the properties for this configuration. So this section for the bottom tab bar, and Eddie, hopefully you guys are keeping an eye on the Q&A. I can't, or the questions, I can't see them with where I'm at here. So if there's anything important comes up, please interrupt me, will you?
Yeah, Dan, we had a couple things. I love people promoting links to go into the community. So Samuel has a mobile idea in our ideas exchange, which is a really
very cool
part of our community, and ask people to upvote his idea. It looks like, again, we don't, no phonetic spelling for me. It's either Jorge or George. Can we make our own themes in the future? Todd, our friend in the background, answered that. Yes, you'll be able to make your own themes in the near future. So a little sneak peek on that. But we'll continue to monitor, Dan. And as you know, I will interrupt you at a moment's notice. So.
Okay, perfect. Just making sure. And Todd, just so you all know, we'll just leave him as Todd for now, and we may get to see his smiling face here later. But Todd is we mentioned he was here. He's the director of mobile development, right? So he is the guy. So when he speaks, that is the ultimate authority. So I'm just here to spread the good word about the work that his team's done. So I'll try and keep an eye on the questions, but properties again, where things get interesting. So this bottom bar is pretty well labeled, right? This is the bar here at the bottom of the screen. So you notice in those configurations that I showed, not one of them looked like this, right? So if we hit this edit button, here in the bottom bar, we have the opportunity to choose which items exist there, right? So you can see we've got home, we've got App Studio apps, we've got dashboards, we've got people, and we've got AI chat. You just kill all these, right? We can reorder them if we want to, right? So you can change the order that they're in. But more importantly, you can add different things, right? So you've got the opportunity to add Domo content and Domo services. And I want to walk you through what the difference in those things are. So in Domo content, this is where you'll find cards, App Studio apps, and dashboards. So in that finance exec one that I showed you, we had an App Studio app. So you can apply an App Studio app there, and clicking on that in the bottom bar will launch directly into that App Studio app. Same for dashboards and same for cards. Pretty straightforward, right? Let's just go ahead and stick this gross profit card on there, and you can see that it's labeled here, gross profit card. Again, I can reorder and choose where I want that to be. And then over here on the right-hand side, I can adjust the icon and the title and the description, which is a hover element. So if we want to call this, instead of gross profit, maybe we just want to put, I don't know, $3 signs there. And for this chart line fill, right, we may want to replace that with, we'll go with our beast mode icon. You've got some flexibility there in how you can label those. So again, content is going to be dashboards, App Studio apps, and cards. Domo services is going to include all the different areas of the product, right? You noticed in the one configuration that retail store associate had access to the task center. It's pretty cool. I love the Domo Task Center. I do a ton with user tasks in Domo. And while the dedicated app is great, there's also a lot of benefit to having that task center available right in the native mobile app. So those are the types of things you'll find in Domo services. So most of these are very straightforward, right? The home screen, buzz, dashboards, people. You can access certification and approval centers. You get access to alerts. Settings, this is going to be the settings for the mobile app. So you can add that. The data center, of course. This App Studio apps, to contrast this with, I mentioned Domo content is where you can find App Studio apps. This, if we were to add this, will take us to where all of your App Studio apps are listed. It looks like the preview is not working in here, but this would take you to the App Studio section in the Domo app, as opposed to a specific app, which is what would happen if you were to grab one from Domo content. Back to Domo services. Obviously, you've got favorites, you've got goals. So that historically has been a separate app. Help Center, App Store. You can see your profile. You can gain access to Domo's projects and tasks, then search, AI chat, and Task Center. Now, I want to talk to you just a little bit about AI chat. There's a couple of things to know about AI chat. So within AI chat, you can apply different contexts and different settings for that mobile experience, right? So if you want to apply certain contexts that exist just for that, it's obviously it's going to take the local content, so it's going to understand what it is that you're looking at. And AI chat is also available in this hamburger menu if you leave it there, where you'll have access to that. But you can define different contexts, and if you've got an audience that is always going to be seeking out information that should be powered by certain cards or data sets or dashboards, you can prescribe those different bits of context for that specific configuration. So I wanted to hit on that, and everything else I believe is fairly straightforward as it relates to the services. And that's everything related to the bottom bar, right? If we come back to all properties, we've also got the opportunity to influence this navigation top drawer section. Now, what that refers to is this hamburger menu, right? So when I click this, you can see I can see our apps icon here, and I can see this whole list of different things. Those are what is stipulated here in the navigation top drawer section. So in this section, you can see everything that I've got here. If I were to, maybe I delete favorites and home and App Studio apps, and I slide people up to the top, those changes are immediately reflected here. So if you want to, restrict or promote different content, you've got the ability to do that here the same way that we do with that bottom bar. One little tip, you're going to want to hit save as you bounce between these different tabs. So we come back here, only show company icon. If we toggle this one on, then here it's only going to show the Moto Corp icon or your company icon, as opposed to Domo Plus, like it historically does. So if you want to add that little flavor of white label, you do have the opportunity to only show your company's icon there. And then this allow personalized navigation bar. This is something you can turn on and off. By default, users have got the opportunity to customize this bar. If you don't want them to be able to do that, if you don't want to allow them to personalize it, you can turn that off. Then it's going to remove that bit of functionality from the app, and that user will no longer be able to do that. So if you want to get real prescriptive with the configuration that you apply, realize you've got that. But I also love that this allows users to, allow that level of personalization where you might say, hey, these are things I assume that you care about, or I have a really good knowledge or understanding that you care about. But I also want to give you the flexibility to, right there in the mobile app, add your own different things to that. And then this AI chat settings, this is what I hit on earlier. This is where you can add default AI sources. So the way that the AI chat works, and if I can figure out how to share my phone's screen on here, I'll show you what it looks like. Actually, you know what? It looks like we can see it here in the preview. So the way that this works is it'll automatically have local focus, just like it does in our web app. So if you're looking at a particular piece of content, you'll see that content listed here in the focus, but you've also got the ability to add sources of focus, right? You can add cards, dashboards, data sets, and App Studio apps, right? So if I'm really worried about finding a particular data set, like we talked about for that finance persona, and maybe it's I don't know, this finance data, right? We can add that as a source. And then when that user navigates to the AI chat, right, that source will be there in addition to the local content that they're on, right? So if I access this on its own, like you can see here, it's only going to have that context. But if I were inside of a dashboard or an App Studio app, and I were to access the AI chat from the hamburger menu, it would have the context of what I was looking at. But users, as always, as you've seen in the desktop, hopefully can toggle those different focuses on or off. But this is where those default AI sources, those AI chat settings exist that can really allow you to make sure that as those different personas are looking at or interacting with our AI chat agents, that you know that it's pointed to the data that's relevant for their role or their job. Let's just check the questions here really quick. Okay, it looks like we've answered most of these. I like Sam's suggestion there. All right, perfect. So last two things to point out here really quickly. We'll go ahead and save what we did here. Are permissions. So I talked about these being for different personas inside of your company or your organization. So you can add different groups, right? So I can say, hey, I want our development group to have access to this, and I want to let them either modify it or simply view it. And now the development group has access to this configuration. Now, there's a couple of things to note here, right? When I bounced in here, you can see that I now have access to 5 different configurations. So based on that, one of the things that's going to appear in the hamburger menu is the ability for me to switch my configuration. So if you're testing around, you're playing with it on your phone, then you can switch your configuration. Now, as it relates to handing these configurations out to users inside of your organization, if a user only has access to one custom configuration, that will load for them in the mobile app by default. They won't have to go select that if there's only one that's shared with them. So everyone's experience they have now, unless you were a really early adopter here and found this thing, is they only have the default configurations. That's what they land on. As you create these and share them out, if they've only got access to one custom one, that's what's going to load by default. If you've got access to a bunch, like my user does in here, then you have the opportunity to switch between those inside of the hamburger menu on the mobile app. So something to consider as you're going through permissions and applying those different permissions. And then lastly, just to hit on versions. So you can have many, many, many versions of your configuration. One thing to note is if we come and we release this as shipping, then that configuration isn't editable anymore, right? So that's when you'd want to create a new version and go from there. And as long as you haven't released it as shipping and it's in draft form, people can use it, but you can continue to come in and edit it. So once you feel like you've got something that's ready to go, you want it locked in, you want everybody's experience consistent, go ahead and release that as shipping, and then that version will be locked in and available to be leveraged by all of your different users. So I know I mentioned that we're going to get through the content a little bit quicker today. Is there Todd, if you want to speak up in the chat or otherwise, is there anything else before we jump back in the PowerPoint in the product that you feel like we missed that we ought to show, or should we jump into some the rest of the the what's next in the PowerPoint content and move on to Q&A? Anything you feel like we missed there? Doesn't sound like it. All right, Eddie, I'm gonna.
We promised. Wait. We promised Todd we wouldn't bring him in like that, and you did it anyways.
And I did it anyways.
Hold
I
on.
did him dirty.
Todd's camera ready. Here he comes. There you are, Todd. Welcome, Todd.
There he is.
I told him it was going to downgrade the whole video experience if they got me in. But, yeah, sorry about that, everyone. No, I think that pretty much covers it. The nice thing about these configurations is that we wanted the administrators to be able to go through and set up a very bespoke experience for their end users. But we also knew that we couldn't, not every admin knows what every end user wants. And so that personalization of the tab bar is something that's also available so that end users can override whatever configuration is applied to them, so that their right thumb accessible are the 5 favorite things that they want to do every single day. So,
love it.
Well, Dan, we did have some questions here. Let's get to some of these. Samuel, who has the Ideas Exchange idea. Samuel, what I like to call a very important person, a VIP here at Domo. Ben Shine has been watching the stream and said, "Send me to that idea that Samuel posted." So know
Nice.
that someone is watching, and that someone is Ben Shine. Samuel asked, "Why are we unable to go back and edit your configuration after it is shipping? Is version control simply for draft?" ?
Yes, it's a good question, Samuel. And just once it's shipped, then it's out there, and you're not editing it anymore. So the version control isn't simply for draft, right? We can have, as many versions as we want to that are in draft form, but. And maybe, I told Todd I wouldn't put him on the spot. Maybe he's got more context to add, but really shipping is essentially just saying, hey, this thing, it's blessed, it's going out the door, and it's really kind of locked in at that point. Did you have any additional context there, Todd?
Yeah, what we didn't want to do was have a configuration that's constantly changing out from underneath the end users. So once you've marked a particular configuration as shipping, what we're saying is that particular version is going to be the same. And when that user goes into that configuration, it's always going to be the same. Now, you can release new versions of that configuration, create new versions, modify those new versions, and then release those. Important as well is that the access control lists are different for each version, meaning you can create a draft version of a configuration, test it with certain users, make sure that they like it. Once you release that version, it will inherit the access control list of the shipping version. So you don't have to keep flipping that stuff around. But what it does is it allows you, the major Domo, to go out there, create an experience, get users testing it, see what they like. Then once it's locked down, you like it, it's shipping, it's not going to change. And if you want to change something in the future, great. Go out there, create a new version of it. And once that one is what you like, ship it, and it will then inherit whatever access control list you have for that shipping one, the previous shipping one.
It's a great call out, Todd. I appreciate that. And we had a question from Ryan around, can you limit a group to just one app and not the Domo default? So this is new functionality. This is something that I brought up with Todd as well. I do want to remind you that if the user only has access to one custom configuration, that's the one that will load by default. We don't currently have a way today to stop that user from switching back to the default configuration, but I would imagine that's something that's on your roadmap, right, Todd? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
no, it is. We've discussed a couple of different options, and maybe we'll just open it up for you guys. But we've thought about either putting a switch on the configuration that disallows users to switch configurations once they're in that configuration. That's one possibility. The other one is being able to change the access control to the default configuration, thereby disabling it from certain users so they would no longer see it in their list. So, both of those options work. Personally, I kind of like the latter one, where you can go through there, modify the access control for the Domo default configuration, and therefore only certain users would see it, and thereby making it impossible for them to switch off of the configuration you want them to use.
Cool. I appreciate that added color.
Yeah, no, I think Samuel is screaming into his keyboard now because that's specifically what his ideas exchange post was about. So, give me the ability to turn some of this stuff off because a user can ship the config the way they want it. So yeah, definitely great insights. Thanks for answering the questions, Todd. Hate to put you on the spot and throw you on the camera.
Not a problem at all.
But you handled it, and we love that. We love it 100%. So yeah, our friend Sam says 100%, 100%. All right, Dan, back to you, my friend.
Cool. Well, we'll just what we'll do. I'm gonna switch the screen share. Eddie, sorry to do that to you. I know that makes a few extra clicks for you. But let's go over to this guy. All right. We back. There we go. Seeing the right thing. Perfect. So just kind of to recap what we went through, right? I walked you through how we created multiple configurations for different audiences, right? And we talked specifically about how to set the AI context for those configurations. That's an important thing that I don't think you should overlook, right? Some of the parts of the product that we leveraged, I always like to kind of call that out, is obviously the mobile configurator, but AI chat. We had some app studio in there, some dashboards, and of course the task center. So if you were able to follow along and knock one of those out, congratulations. If not, I look forward to hearing about what you achieve, what you come up with. But really, kind of as we wrap things up, what I would encourage you to do is identify some target audiences, right? Todd called out a great example of in his response to the version control question from Samuel around the access control list. Find a friendly, right? Find some people and give them a custom configuration, and find some target audiences and get some feedback, right? See what they think. One thing that I've found as I've had conversations with a lot of you guys one-on-one is that there's a lot of different people inside of the organization that this opens up access to, right? With some of the new functionality we've introduced and whatnot, things like a retail store associate who's walking around the floor, right? Or a security guard who's doing his checks. They may not have obvious access to Domo in their day-to-day role, but now with this and the ability to really constrain what they get access to and the ability to leverage forms, workflows, tasks, some of those sorts of things to kick off processes, it starts to get more relevant for a lot more people in your company than we did historically. So as you're thinking through those different audiences, don't just think of those that you already know, but think outside of that and how other people might benefit from being able to initiate those actions. The stuff we talk about in this upcoming AI image one will hit on a lot of those things as well. But think through that, gain an understanding of their needs, right? Really, and you all are doing a great job at that, I'm sure today. But think through really what they're after, and if mobile use inside your organization is low, right? Hopefully it's not, but if it is, maybe think through why, right? And it could just be that it was an overwhelming experience for them initially. But yeah, deploy and test, get those friendlies, and then share your feedback with us, right? We've got obviously the community. We're all active there. It sounds like Ben is creeping in the background here. We know that he's always on the Slack and in the community forums, and all of our great product managers and folks like Todd. There's so many of us there, and we love to hear your feedback, and that really drives a lot of what we do. And so as you're going out and you're finding success or just gaining experience with the product, please share with us. Let us know what you're doing, and keep those suggestions like the ones we got here today, with the limiting of the configurations. Keep the question about the themes, keep those coming, because it's mobile's a big deal to us. It's a huge area of focus, and nobody that would rather get feedback and information from than everybody here.
Yeah, it's fulfilling as community manager. I'll just kind of be upfront with everybody on the call that we take a lot of the things that you are saying in our community forums, on the Slack, and in our user groups, whether you attend a community event, we really have folks that believe that the users are our best source of information when it comes to updating and changing and iterating on our product. And I'm actually looking today, and I'm gonna have to double check this number because it's insane. But if it's true, last year's number, we had 69 ideas from the Ideas Exchange was implemented into the product. That's crazy.
Implemented into the product.
That is
69.
a silly
That's
number.
amazing.
And I think, a lot of this has to do with just the engaged fan base that we have, and giving you the platform to speak directly to some folks like Dan and Todd and Ben and people that really, really care about making our product better. So thanks everybody for joining. Obviously, you're a big part of this. We can't thank you enough for continuing to give your insights. I forgot I changed the background to there as we do the demos. Want to make sure that you remember that we're the AI and data products platform here on the Advanced Customer Enablement Hands-On session. We're doing as much as we can to continue to provide really great content through the community. So if you're not a part of the community forum, join the community forum. You'll get notified automatically when we add new sessions like the one coming up on February 19th. How's that for a segue, Dan?
There we go. I love it. Yeah, again, I'm really excited about this one. You're going to hear a lot from us. You're going to continue to hear a lot from us on the AI front. And like I said, I'm so excited at the potential of leveraging unstructured data and some of those things. And so I'm really going to dive in. I'm going to show you all the different ways you can leverage it. We'll show you some great examples. There's a lot of really neat stuff that we're going to cover there. So if you enjoyed our time today, hopefully you did. I think you'll love the next one that we got to talk about, and hope to see you all back there. I'm seeing lots of comments for the Domo bus. Loving the the shout out for the Domo bus. So if you were fortunate enough to get one of those at Connections Tour, I proudly display it there. I love that thing. I'm right there with you guys. So thanks for noticing it creeping in the background there.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dan. And let's bring him back in here. Thank you, Todd, so much for being a part as well. Again, join us on our next session. As always, these sessions are recorded immediately upon ending the live stream and session. So once I hit finish, you should be able to refresh the page and watch as that session gets uploaded to the exact same place that you came to watch this session. If not, go back to the community forums, check all the links, and we will be across all socials as well: Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter X, if you're looking for content across socials to share with your employees and friends. Thanks everyone for joining. As always, we will be back February 19th to do another one of our ACE Advanced Customer Enablement Hands-On sessions. And we
got some work to do
for joining us today. Dan's got another session to work on. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate you.
Thank you.